What's going on, guys? Gino here, and now that the iPhone 13 Pro Max has recently been released along with the regular iPhone 13 and the iPhone 13 Pro, some of you may be wondering what the difference is between the previous iPhone 12 Pro Max and the iPhone 13 Pro Max, and exactly what the differences are, and if it would be worth it to upgrade from the previous iPhone 12 up to the iPhone 13, or especially if you have the iPhone 12 Pro Max, if it would be worth it for yourself to go ahead and upgrade to the iPhone 13 Pro Max. And the 13 Pro Max does have quite a bit of improvements from the 12 Pro Max, but those improvements may not actually be something that you really value to have in a phone for yourself. So let's go ahead and see what all of the differences are between these two phones, and if it would be worth the upgrade to the iPhone 13 Pro or Pro Max. And taking a look at the form factor here, the two phones are very similar in terms of the way they look. We still have this square design in the 13 Pro Max, which is in Sierra Blue. And I have to say that this Sierra Blue color is really awesome and it looks super clean. And this Pacific Blue color, I used to love it. It used to be my favorite color, but it got kind of old after a while, I guess because I've been using it for about a year or so. So I like the Sierra Blue a little bit better now, actually. And of course, the 13 Pro Max is available in 3 other colors, including gold, silver, and graphite, along with the Sierra Blue, so 4 colors total. But I do want to mention that the gold color is just a little bit different in this year's 13 Pro and Pro Max. I guess the back panel is a little bit more goldish. I haven't really compared the two in real life, but that's just what I've heard so far. And the one noticeable difference about the iPhone 13 Pro Max versus the 12 Pro Max is that the 13 Pro Max here does have larger lenses because the cameras are actually improved. And of course we still have 3 cameras. We have the telephoto, wide, and ultra wide cameras. But Apple claims we actually have a 92% improvement in low light photography with the 13 Pro Max. And we have that new macro mode, which allows you to take super up-close shots of different textures or tiny objects, and I really like this feature. But just so you're aware, the macro mode is only available on the 13 Pro and the 13 Pro Max, and it is not available on the regular iPhone 13. Now, the telephoto lens on the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max has received a hefty upgrade as well. It has a new 77mm lens with 6 times optical zoom versus the 5 times optical zoom that we have in the 12 Pro Max. Plus, with the wider 1.5 aperture, the 13 Pro Max's camera lets in more light as well. And when it comes to video, similar to the iPhone 12 models, all of the iPhone 13 models can record in 4K up to 60 frames per second. And now we have that sensor shift stabilization on all of the iPhone 13 models across the board that was only seen in last year's iPhone 12 Pro Max, which I have right here. And if you're not familiar with that sensor shift stabilization, pretty much what it allows you to do is just have cleaner and smoother videos so they're not quite as shaky because of a sensor that is built into the camera. Now, one really cool feature for all of you videographers out there is the new cinematic mode that is found on all of the iPhone 13s. And pretty much what this allows you to do is it has smart autofocus, so if you're filming a video and you turn your head, the autofocus will change from when your head is turned to the person or object behind you, and then when you turn your head back to the camera, then it'll focus on yourself again. And I think this feature is really cool, and it really appeals to a lot of people that are into movie making or even for creators that create their own content. And I don't really think that the average person is going to be using this a whole lot, but it is a cool feature to have if you ever want to mess around with it. But we also have the ability to film, edit, and send out ProRes video, which is awesome for content creators that want to create content straight from their iPhone and then send it to their editing programs later on. Now let's go ahead and talk about some of the more important things that will appeal to most people. And when it comes to the battery life, all of the iPhone 13 models are significantly improved, with the iPhone 13 Pro Max lasting 2.5 hours more than the previous iPhone 12 Pro Max. And the way Apple was able to achieve this is to put a slightly bigger battery in the iPhone 13 Pro Max, so it is just slightly thicker, but it's not very noticeable. and it also weighs 12 grams more than the 12 Pro Max. And when it comes to the screens, both of these phones have a Super Retina XDR display, but the 13 Pro and the 13 Pro Max actually has ProMotion, which gives us refresh rates up to 120 Hertz, which makes just scrolling through different pages or switching between different apps a little bit sharper and quicker. And the way ProMotion actually works is it tracks your finger and it can tell how fast you're swiping, so it will change between 60 Hertz up to 120 Hertz depending on how fast you swipe. I have already noticed a difference with ProMotion in the 13 Pro Max myself, and everything just feels a little bit snappier on my phone. And I don't want to forget to mention that of course we have a 20% smaller notch on the 13 Pro Max versus the 12 Pro Max. I've never really been annoyed with a notch myself, but it will be nice when it's completely gone and hopefully next year's line of iPhones, and if not next year's, then probably the year after that. And the very last thing with the screen here on the iPhone 13 Pro Max is that it is just slightly brighter than the 13 Pro Max at its natural typical state. They both go up to the same top brightness, but in its original state, Apple calls it typical, it is 200 nits brighter, which to be honest really isn't even noticeable. And in terms of the internals, all of the new iPhone 13 models have the A15 Bionic chip with a 6-core CPU and a 5-core GPU, which is just slightly faster, and I can notice a slight difference between the 12 Pro Max and the 13 Pro Max, because the 12 Pro Max has the older A14 chip. And yeah guys, that's probably just about it with the differences between the 12 Pro Max and the 13 Pro Max, but you're still probably wondering what you should go with. Well, here's what I think. When it comes to the new iPhone 13, there are definitely some things that will appeal to a lot of different people, like the better battery life, the quicker display, the new A15 Bionic chip, and the smaller notch. But if you do already have the iPhone 12 Pro and you don't care about all of those new features like the macro mode and cinematic mode and the better battery life and that kind of stuff, then all of the iPhone 12 models, especially the 12 Pro Max, are still incredible devices, and you could wait until next year because it's supposed to be a big year for the iPhones, and you can wait until then. But that being said, if you do want all of the best features, then I do highly recommend the iPhone 13 Pro Max, as I have loved using it for myself so far, and I'm sure I will continue to love it as I use it in the future. So I guess it's up to you guys to try to figure out what features you want and need for yourself, and then you can go from there. If you want the 13 Pro Max, of course I highly recommend it, but at the same time, if you already have the 12 Pro Max, then you probably don't need to upgrade. But of course, it's up to you to figure out what features you want for yourself. Of course, if you guys have any questions at all, make sure to drop them down in the comments below, and I will get back to you. But with all of that being said, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace!